I've been thinking about building a pond for quite a while, and I decided on using a hard plastic pre-made pond rather than a liner. I bought this pond from eBay. It was about £50. It's a good size. It's about 8.5 feet by 5.5 feet and just over 2 feet deep. It's no small task digging out a pond, and you really need to allow yourself a few days and have the right tools really and the right attitude to start off with. It's not a 5 minute job. Obviously, as you go deeper, you reach different types of soil, and you really need to keep those separate. It's something that I wasn't particularly fastidious about doing, and I regretted later. So take your topsoil off first, put that to one side, and then you'll eventually get down to whatever your subsoil is, and you really want them. If you're going to make like I did, I made a little rockery with the soil. You need them to be put back in the right order. So you want your subsoil at the bottom of the rockery, and then your topsoil on top. Something that I had a bit of problem with. You can see there I've got a big mountain of clay which I tried to keep separate to one side as I got further down, but it did eventually get mixed in with the topsoil. Once the hole's out, you're going to need something on the bottom of the pond to protect the plastic from any stones that might work themselves up and eventually puncture it with the weight of the water. I decided on sand. I thought it'd be easier to level rather than something like carpet or carpet underlay. Now you'll need some sort of tamping device. Like I've got a bit of an old weights bar here, which is nice and straight and a spirit level, and I screed it off the sand and tamped it down to try and get it level. It's very important that you have that pond in there level. Once the pond's in, you need to check the level of the top of the pond. It's very important that that's level, because obviously when you pour the water in, it will find its own level and you have ugly bits of plastic visible. You want the water right to the top of that pond, right to the top of that plastic, so that it hides as much as possible. Now I used an old ladder. It was the only thing that I could find that was wide enough. Okay, this is quite an important part here. It's what can happen is when you pour the water in, if you haven't backfilled it and it's firm, it will warp the plastic and the top won't be level. I found the best way was to do it simultaneously, backfilling and filling the actual container at the same time, and try and keep it level, and periodically stop and check the level with the ladder. The next step was the stream. I dug out the actual form of the stream, the fall of it, with some steps in it to so it's got little ponds on the way down, as it were. And then I bought some liner off of eBay, and then placed my uh, rocks and stones on it to try and give it a sort of natural look. And another error that I made here was that I didn't actually make the stream deep enough, and I found, although I gave it a few inches from the top of the plastic when the stream was running, uh, in practice, when you get birds coming into the stream and big pigeons coming in and landing, they knock the stones about and drop leaves in, and it can easily make some of the little steps, the water level rise up and go over the side of the stream, and then your pond starts emptying. So it took quite a lot of adjustment trying to build the sides up after I'd actually made it all, and I wish I just made it a little bit deeper to counteract this problem. This is the actual filter system. You can see this is when I first switched it on. I knocked a lot of mud in, and it had to filter that out. But they're very easy to. You just wash them out, and there's a little drain plug you can take out to wash the whole system out. The general idea of the whole design was to have two ponds. So I've got the big pond, and then I've got a small pond, and and linking the two is a bridge. Now there's no water going to be running under the bridge. It's just sort of an optical illusion. And I bought this one. It was 60 something pounds, I think, off of eBay. It's very simple to assemble. It's softwood though, so you will need either to treat it or paint it or do something with it. But it's quite strong, and it probably would span some water. But in my case, it just sits on soil. Very easy to construct. The planting around the ponds, we put these cyclamen in just because it sort of matched the bridge really. Around the actual pond, we put some irises, and along the stream, there it was a mixture of stuff really. I'll put some fritillarias in at the moment, but eventually, on the far side near the bamboo, we put in some water-loving plants. Plants that like a sort of boggy area because it was quite clayey there. So we put in a gunner, a manicata, and some ligularias, um, and they don't mind getting wet and getting splashed. In fact, they like it quite boggy. Well, this is kind of what it looked like when it was just finished. I've got the pond pump running. You can see it gushing out the top there. Right at the top is the filter system. You can see up there. It's a bit murky still. Um, Now, one thing I would recommend is I put some concrete blocks in, so if anything falls in there, they can just jump out. This is the other pond. It's quite shallow with quite a shallow side. That's going to be a wildlife pond. Now we left the pond quite a few months. You see, it's changed here. Before we decided to put some fish in, we've done a bit of planting around the edge. I put some sticks around the edge to try and hide the edge at the top of the pond. Now we made sure that the water was staying clear and it had time to settle, and we bought a few fish to see what happened. Now, when you first get your fish, they'll probably tell you at the fish shop, but uh, put the bag in the water and leave it in there for about half an hour, just to so that the temperatures sort of, the fish can acclimatise to the temperatures of the water in the bag, and the gets level. Now, what might happen is, what happened to us was that we released the fish and come out the next day. We thought they'd all gone, but they tend to hide for the first couple of weeks, and then they become more confident and come out. But they do hide very effectively. We thought they'd all been taken by a heron, but to our relief, they all started to appear one by one. Anyway, thanks for watching. And I hope I've enthused a few of you to think about building a pond.